Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. There is huge focus on fixed operations today, in particular warranty and warranty receivables, probably the biggest chunk of revenue that dealerships can expect. Our resident expert is Tyler Nathan. He's with a company called TBF Jupiter Warranty Management, and they work with a lot of dealers, a lot of Fixed Ops Roundtable dealers as well, and they are considered experts in the area. Tyler, welcome back to the roundtable.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Ted.
Good to see you as well. It was good to see you in New York earlier this summer, and good to see all the interest in fixed operations. Tyler, I don't see this going away. I see more and more focus on that back end parts and service. What are you seeing there from your vantage point at Jupiter?
Yeah, we're definitely busy right now. We the, the the market's been a little unique this year, and with many changes. So but currently we're having a lot of dealers sign up, and it's been really good. It's been really strong. The the big thing that we're seeing is just like you said that manufacturers are looking to save some money wherever they can, making changes to the systems, and that's definitely causing some dealerships some pain.
Tyler, the complexity in the vehicles that are out now is enormous. We had a technician, Marcos Wannenberg, tell us about the millions of lines of code in the average vehicle today. Just amazing what's going on. What are you seeing in terms of dealership trends in fixed ops this year? We're seeing a lot of things, but again, that focus on warranty and making sure that it's recovered, that it's claimed for, and done properly. And again, a lot of scrutiny on that as well.
Yeah, probably the biggest trend in our niche, if you will, is that everybody, I think this year there's been a lot of uncertainty, and our business does amazingly well in a great economy, and it also does extremely well in a poor economy too, because dealerships are looking to save cost, and so many times they will look around, and that warranty admin is spending half their day now FaceTiming or something, instead of actually doing work, they're pacing themselves, and that's a fixed expense. And so having a flexible solution in a downtime is a great solution. It's also great in an up economy, because when the economy is going crazy, the dealerships quickly find themselves into trouble due to the fact that they fall behind in warranty. Maybe their admins having to work overtime just to keep up, and that's cost them a lot of money. And so it makes a lot of sense. But in these uncertain times, dealerships have a tendency to want to sit back and see what's happening. And we had a lot of that in June and July. There was some of the dealerships were just waiting, trying not to make any change at all, because scared of what the tariffs are going to do and that sort of thing. And then now all of a sudden, I think we're on the other side of that, and the phone's been pretty busy.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's interesting that a lot of dealerships I talk to, dealership managers who say, oh, no, we've got it covered with warranty. We've got an excellent person who handles this franchise or that franchise. You lose one person or they get sick or something goes down, all of a sudden they're in a great need.
Yeah. Well, and it happens quickly. That's the thing. The average warranty admin to really train a good one takes a year or more. And when you're only going to get a 2 week notice that an admin is leaving, the dealership is, even if they find somebody off the street who doesn't know it, then they're going to be the service manager is going to be bogged down in training for the next months, several months, just to get the admin up to speed and to submit the majority of their claims. Then it's going to take them quite a bit longer before they become really proficient and be able to answer all the questions and be able to respond to the OEMs. And here's the interesting thing is that many times there's kind of three people in the world when it comes to our business, and there's one person who just usually isn't going to be good at warranty no matter what. And those folks, we've learned how to pick them out in the beginning, so we kind of avoid mistakes there. But number two is somebody who can learn warranty, and do well at it, but is never going to be efficient or fast. And so those folks you can spend a lot of time with. trying to train them and work with them, and you're hoping they're going to speed up, but sometimes they just don't. You have to be not only you have to be a quick and accurate thinker, and so that other third group is generally who we hire, and that's one of the reasons why we let the dealerships really train those folks ahead of time in a sense, and we already hire folks with experience. We vet them and we do working uh, interviews with them and make sure that they're both those things that we're looking for. Somebody who's fast, they're accurate, so they're efficient, and then we can put them to use. Yeah.
So, Tyler, your company, Jupiter Warranty Management, you work in dealers with dealers all across the country. What are some of the common things or common challenges that you see? And I know you travel a lot when it comes to installation, dealers getting started with you at Jupiter. What are you seeing as common challenges for setup or for new programs as well?
Yeah, the biggest thing is the managerial style. Some dealerships are just you might have a manager who's a great salesperson, maybe is great working with the technicians like them, but they generally will have this warranty person who's actually doing a lot of their managing as well because and providing them information. And let's say that person is their warranty admin is now gone, and then we come in, and of course we're going to have to work with their team to make sure that we're getting, we'll have to have the information that warranty admin was maybe running around and collecting. In some ways, they almost those in-house admins could kind of become a little bit of a nanny for the service department, if you will. And now that sounds good on the face, and it does work in some cases, but the problem with it is that the team becomes sloppier and more dependent on that person because the technicians may be writing poor stories, and that person's actually writing the story for some of their techs. They also they might be running around collecting paperwork and stuff that advisors should know needs to be attached. And so you have this weakness, and so all of a sudden this person's gone. Here we come in, and we're working with that team on how to provide information. That's one of the reasons why we meet with the techs and advisors. We go through quite an extensive amount of training with them during a day. We don't tie you up too long, but we do need an hour with the techs and advisors. And then we also are working with service to make sure that they don't become that nanny, right? In other words, if we've sent all of our information to the service manager and they're running around the shop
Right.
getting us stuff, that could be a big chunk of their day, and you don't want your managers doing that, nor do they want to do that. And so
No.
it's very important that we interact directly with those who write up the tickets. And so we have a whole process where we set that up, and where we reach out to the advisor, wrote the ticket, we CC the manager, and we have a process that they follow to ensure that makes it simple. But again, it's one of those things where you can lead a horse to water sometimes. Sometimes we'll have a manager, we'll go over it all, and they'll kind of, over time, they might navigate back to handling it the way they used to, in a sense. And so that could be a little bit of a struggle sometimes. But the dealerships that implement the managerial process that we have in place love the program. Looks good.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, Tyler. So just because a dealership signs up with Jupiter Warranty Management, uh, you know, we've got to realize there's going to be training involved, and you're coming in store in many cases. Okay, I know you travel as well, and so how do you approach that? You mentioned, there's technicians, there's a lot of people, who that that warranty manager, if you will, may be providing information for. What do you do in those meetings? What are some of the things that you cover? If you don't mind, give us a little insight into that training in the store.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first part of it is always is even in the sales process. So we start explaining this managerial process and what and how we're going to interact with the claims. And then when we get there, we do spend time with the service management on like things as simple as where the ROs are going to print. That's important because if we just print to where the advisors when we close it or into the system and not print anything, that causes process issues for them because it's best if what we try to do is save everybody's time. And if that advisor wrote the ticket and is responsible to help us get it closed, then we want them to have access to the paperwork should we need something. If they're having to walk around the dealership and look for paperwork, so a lot of it is kind of helping the dealership understand what's the best thing to do with the paper, where it should print, all of this sort of thing. And then also then we meet with the advisors and techs and we explain this to them. And we have a little process too where we notify them either through the DMS and or email and other ways. If and it makes it easy for that management to know that their people are responding and replying to us. We have a system where it tells the manager basically they just have to do a couple of things each day. They have to check to see if the advisor has been responding and replying to us. And that's the big thing that we need them to do. And as long as they're doing that, their team actually gets better, because what happens is we start holding their advisors accountable, and then their advisors start holding the technicians accountable for stories. And of course, they're double checking ROs, for parts and that sort of thing. And then the whole team gets better.
And Tyler, many technicians are not exactly eloquent when it comes to writing up, what they've done on the vehicle. Talk to us about that, because I know a lot of service managers are very much aware. Maybe not every general manager is, but how do you deal with that? And because it's a people business, right? And we've got people documenting these stories, which are going to be checked by the OEM.
Yeah, and every OEM cares about certain things, like the three C's, complaint, cause, and correction. And when we're there, we're going to talk about these things and what little pitfalls that technicians find themselves in these areas. And we're able to say it in a way and display it that rather than just having a service manager or a warranty clerk nag at them some more, we're coming in, we're professional, and we're talking to them, and they understand that we're like H&R Block. We're here to get them paid to the fullest, make it easier on them, and protect them from audit,
Yeah.
right? So we're professionals, and so generally they will listen better to our advice. And we have handouts that are specific to each OEM. So we'll come out there, and so because each one's a little different. For instance, Ford has a repeat repair form and a log, and so many Ford dealerships I go into, they're not even following that. So there's a lot of times that they're creating some audit liability that they're not even aware of. These different dealerships, and like Hyundai and Kia, they require, if there's an add-on repair, that not only did the service manager sign the hard copy, but they want the customer to sign near the added line on the invoice copy. So not just at the bottom, but also near that added job. So there's little things like that these dealerships are unaware of. And so we go over all of that with them, as well as teach them how to clock and write a great story. So they can maximize the RO in a lot of cases when they run into either like they need time for straight time, and but they have to remember to put the job on hold or something and go back into it and run extra time. So there's a lot of detail, and that's what fills that hour with the techs and advisors. And it's generally we get very good responses from our training.
You mentioned that the dealership may not be aware. They would become aware when it's an audit, okay? And they find out that the manufacturer was looking for that extra signature, like you just said. How do most dealerships react when you come in and show them things like this that you are familiar with because you're an expert with that particular OEM? And you've got people who handle just those OEMs. What is the dealership's response when they hear, the guidance that you're giving them?
Well, I love when I'm doing a training and the general manager takes the time to actually attend the meeting. Because service managers, they've heard it before, and they love it too. They because they're like, hey, this is great. But sometimes you can just see their eyes opening and go, wow, I did not know that. And they'll say that we did not know that. We're going to have to start doing that. And so it's a great piece of it. So. Yeah, it's definitely rewarding. We love to have upper management attend the training meetings. It's good things.
There's not just technology or new technology in the cars, but also throughout the dealership these days, in service departments and parts departments, in fixed operations. It seems like it's been ripe for disruption, Tyler. Um, how has technology impacted claims processing? Okay, from your vantage point there at Jupiter, including efficiency, for the dealership as well.
Yeah. So one of the things is that we're seeing the OEMs use technology to make claim payment a little more difficult.
Oh,
Yeah. So, like for instance, some of them require you to scan or to send them digital images on every RO if it's not, just maintenance or like a recall, right? They'll let you slide on that, but otherwise they want to see the story, the time punches. They're almost auditing every ticket, in a sense, not a full audit, but a portion of it. And they'll gladly deny the claim and have the dealership, have to eat that expense, 100% of it, even though, so it's very, they're using a lot of technology like that, Hyundai and so forth. They've also used a lot of photo imagery in there with their technicians and things like that. So a lot of them are using more of this stuff, and that makes it a little more on the training aspect too. Because again, if the dealership doesn't do those processes properly, even if we catch it after the fact, if the vehicle's gone, sometimes it's there isn't any way to fix it other than to let them know that they handled that claim improperly. So it's comes back to training. But um, yeah, and some of the systems are have made some improvements. As far as we've seen improvements in dealer, I'm sorry, company representative approvals. Now some of them are moving into like more of an automated system where they can track it, and a lot of the test equipment that technicians use uploads right into the cloud, so that way the manufacturer has
Oh,
knows that the actual test is working, and they compare that to the warranty claims. Now, one of the things that we recommend is that the dealer still prints a copy of that, because we have had cases where one of the OEMs said that they didn't have any proof that the test was ran, even though
right.
the dealership ran it and they didn't have copies to go on. So it's always good for the dealership to always print out a hard copy, or and get that scanned into their system or something. Anyway,
And
that's
Tyler, you work with so many dealers. I mean, you see these things start to bubble in small areas, but you can see when there's trends for a particular manufacturer. And I imagine you can alert some of the dealers who are on the Jupiter platform because of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm the only, if you will, jack of all trades in our company. That my focus is on what each OEM will charge back, and what they require on the ROs. But I don't fight with those individually and submit claims to each one of those different OEMs. And so that's why we, in order to really give the dealership the best experience, we have experienced admins who focus on one or two admins, usually at the most. A lot of our admins just do a single line, and then they're experts at that line and exactly what that OEM requires on the repair orders, and they continue to work with the dealership and continue to do training through those communications, with the advisors and management. And so my goal is to set up a process where at the dealership where they understand what to do with that information, so that the quality of their claims continue to improve as we're processing.
Tyler, I'm curious, what are you hearing around the industry? Not necessarily at Jupiter, but what are you hearing around the industry when it comes to OEMs and warranty and dollars receivable and things such as audits, where manufacturers are now looking at, there's a lot of dollars going out from the OEM to the dealer. And in terms of scrutiny, what are you seeing out there, and what advice could you give dealers? Because I would imagine, like I don't file my own taxes. You mentioned H&R Block. It's good to have that H&R Block out there, working on my behalf.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, the OEMs, it seems like some of them are trying to recover cost through making the system either a little more difficult to get approval. They're also, it seems that some of the OEMs are taking a heavier audit approach. So we, of course, watch for those trends, and sometimes they flat out will tell you. Once in a while, an OEM will come out and say, "Hey, we're planning to audit everybody during this period of time," or so yeah, so it's yeah, some of them come around every 2 years or so period, and then many other ones just use audits kind of as a club, and run it based on your numbers, and then compare you to your peers in most cases. But they all have reserve the right to come in if they know that there's something's going on that's improper, and so our goal is to do a couple of things. One, keep the deal. If we can keep them out, that's what we're going to do. We're going to work with you to keep your numbers in line, and we'll help you address costs as they come up. In other words, they're comparing you against your peers. If your cost is higher, there's probably a reason for it. We need to look into that reasoning. And then, of course, with our admin being able to do multiple dealerships in that same make, they are able to say, hey, I don't see so many of these ROs from these other dealerships as I do in your case. And so that really gives you that third party insight. And then we can try to work with the service management to find out why they're writing more of these types of tickets up. Maybe it's like additional labor that they're asking for, maybe it's additional straight time, maybe it's just the types of repairs that they're doing. But once we address those root causes, we can help them get their costs in line, and it keeps them out of trouble. So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and we'll work with your team to avoid audits, and we're very successful at that. Most of our dealerships don't see an auditor, and when they do, if you're following our advice and doing the things that they come out well. So.
You've had a number of dealers who utilize Jupiter Warranty Management Services. A lot of groups on here, big groups, and they've told us just that as well, Tyler. So I'm a dealer or a fixed ops director or a general manager. I'm watching this today, and I may have questions. I may have somebody who's working for me, nearing that retirement age, or just want to get your viewpoint on a couple things. Can our audience reach out to you with questions that they have, in terms of their franchises and in their particular scenario?
Yes, sir. Yeah. We probably the easiest thing to do is go to our website. There's a contact page. You fill out that contact page, and then we'll be in touch with you, and it'll have the information. You can of course call the number below. That's actually my cell phone number. If I'm busy, leave me a voicemail, and
Okay.
I'll be glad to respond or have somebody call you back as soon as possible. And what we do is we do a presentation generally, and that really helps the dealership see the teamwork that we apply to each account and how we address certain things. So that's a good thing. But the big thing you got to watch out for with somebody that you know is retiring is keep in mind that with us, you're always going to get skilled labor, and because of that, there's always limits. Okay, so in other words, you don't want to, let's say you've got a GM dealership and you need help in GM. Okay, well, if we call us up and we currently signed a bunch of GM just recently, and we're growing that department, but we don't have a skilled GM admin, we're not going to take it in and give it to somebody else. And so in some cases, we might not be able to take on an account for a short time. Now that means that we could float on bringing you in, but the problem is if your admin's already gone, you really can't afford to float. So sometimes, unfortunately, dealerships will find themselves in that predicament. So what we recommend is that if you know there's going to be change, don't wait until the last minute. If you know it's coming 4, 5, 6, even 6 months or a year out,
Reach out.
reach out and then talk to us. And then also there might be a good way that we can get you on the list of you make your decision early, and then that way we know we can have the resources available when we start with you. And there's also a nice transition period if you have that employee still in place for a couple of weeks at the retiring before, as we're coming in, so that they can help assist with that. So good
All right.
thing.
Everybody, Tyler Nathan, Jupiter Warranty Management. They know your business firsthand. They understand it. They can answer your questions, and they work with a lot of dealers very successfully. TBF Jupiter Warranty Management. Look down below, everybody. You see the website, and you see Tyler's cell phone there. And again, he's the man to reach out. He is the best in the industry, so no question about it. Tyler, on behalf of the Roundtable, thank you for all you do for fixed operations, helping our dealers stay ahead of the curve, ahead of what's happening. And thank you for updating us on the state of current events in the industry in terms of warranty.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Ted. Thanks for having us.
Tyler Nathan, everybody, Jupiter Warranty Management, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.